This year's Captain Marvel movie will provide the origin story for Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, an apparently incredibly powerful superhero who will be an integral part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. But it also provides a perfect platform to set up the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie retrospectively. It's set in the mid-1990s, and is therefore kind of a prequel to the entire MCU, given that it'll feature young versions of established characters like Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury and Clark Gregg's Phil Coulson, as well as established MCU concepts like the Tesseract and Project Pegasus. But it will also feature prominent characters related to the Guardians of the Galaxy, such as Lee Pace's Ronan and Djimon Hounsou's Korath. It's expected to reveal why Ronan went rogue, and in turn, this theory suggests the Guardians of the Galaxy's first mission was actually Captain Marvel's fault. Let's get into it! In most of the Captain Marvel marketing to date, attention has been focused on two characters: Brie Larson's titular superhero, which is obviously understandable, and Jude Law's Star Force commander, who appears to be Carol Danvers' mentor. Debate regarding exactly who Law is playing has been raging for months. Is it Marvel? Is it Jan Rog?
Yeah. I can't tell you anything.
By refusing to confirm anything officially, focus has remained on Law, meaning Ronan's role is going under the radar.
Not anymore.
The theory is that the Captain Marvel movie could set him up for his position as the main villain in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. To understand Ronan, you really have to understand the race that he's a part of, the Kree. One of the Captain Marvel trailers describes the race as
heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
But if the truth be told, that's probably solely a reflection on how the Kree view themselves, as opposed to how they're seen from the outside by everyone else. Of course, most villains believe they're the hero of their own story.
I am.
Thanos thought he was doing the universe a favor in Avengers Infinity War, for example.
I don't feel so good.
But the truth is, there's actually quite a lot of evidence that the Kree are nothing more than a race of fascists. In a recent trailer, Jude Law's character was heard saying, "We are Kree! Strong, united," which seems to be a part of a Hitler-esque motivational speech. Fascism is generally seen as a racial philosophy that assumes the superiority of one race over others, and attempts to unite its people under a dictator. You know, like the Nazis. Law's character's speech definitely implies a similar philosophy, as he emphasized the strength and unity of the Kree race, with the leader in question probably being the Supreme Intelligence, who we believe might be being played by Annette Bening. Most fascist societies define themselves by conflict, and the Kree appear no different. They've been in at least 2 galaxy-wide wars that lasted for centuries, one against the Skrulls and another against the Xandarians, and they seem to have a particular hatred of the former. Marvel's comics depict the Kree as having a sense of cultural paranoia, thanks to their long-standing feud with the Skrulls, and they'd come to hate anything false as a result. Essentially, the Kree are fundamentally opposed to deceit, and it seems that's going to apply in the MCU as well. With that in mind, Captain Marvel's very existence and backstory opposes everything the Kree believe in. The movie will see Brie Larson's character serving as a member of the elite Kree unit known as Star Force. She'll be suffering from amnesia, and will believe herself to be a pure-blood Kree named which will come as a result of her broken dog tags only showing part of her real name. Only senior figures in the Kree leadership will know the truth about her identity, and a scene in one of the trailers has Annette Bening's character explaining the true details of Danvers' backstory to her.
We made you one of us.
The very fact that the backstory is being explained would suggest that it had previously been hidden from her, and indeed from other Kree characters like Ronan. The Kree are essentially an autocracy that are bordering on being a theocracy, with the Supreme Intelligence ruling unopposed. Should the Supreme Intelligence be revealed to have been deceiving everyone, it will send shockwaves through the Kree society, and it might cause certain individuals to go rogue. Now let's jump forward a couple of decades to 2014, the year Guardians of the Galaxy was both released and set in. The Kree were depicted very differently in that movie. Their leadership appeared less eager to be perpetually involved in wars, and even negotiated a peace treaty with the Xandarians. But the Kree society itself appeared to have fragmented, with some members of the race breaking off from it to become renegade warlords. The most prominent example of that, and the one we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy, was Ronan. Lee Pace's character saw the peace treaty as a betrayal of everything being a Kree was all about.
I will cure it
and opted to stand in judgment against the ancient enemies of his people, rather than exist in harmony with them. He'd been conducting surgical strikes against Xandarian ships, doing everything in his power to disrupt the fragile peace, and getting his hands on an Infinity Stone only made his plans escalate, as he sought to destroy Xandar itself. So what happened to the Kree between the events of Captain Marvel in the 1990s and Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014? What prompted a race who have been at war for thousands of years to seek out peace? And what made a loyal member of the Kree military go rogue?
I'm coming for you.
Well, we can't be sure, but all the evidence points to the fact that a Star Force member is actually a human. Finding out that the Kree's leadership had been engaging in subterfuge would surely result in the race doing something they'd never done before, questioning their leaders. The Supreme Intelligence Authority would be challenged and potentially undermined, and high-ranking military figures would lose all respect. In the time between the two movies, it makes sense, therefore, that every man in the street, or every Kree in this case, would opt to turn their back on the idea of constantly being at war. While Ronan is probably one of those who found out about the deception and turned rogue as a result, there's also a slight possibility that he was actually one of the few who already knew the truth, but begrudgingly remained a loyal servant to the Supreme Intelligence. As a result, it could be the case that the Kree public turned their back on him, and he lost all prestige and authority. Whichever of these scenarios turns out to be true, Ronan would undoubtedly be upset by his people's willingness to pursue peace, and as new leaders arose, he'd end up opposing them, perhaps as a lone voice calling for their war-loving nature to continue, or even escalate. When his voice wasn't heard, it might have resulted in him becoming the renegade we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy, meaning the events of Captain Marvel ultimately triggered the events of that movie. And Carol Danvers' secret was both the reason Kree society was fundamentally transformed, and the reason the Guardians were forced into action to save the universe. If it does turn out to be true, it's undoubtedly one of the most brilliant connective storylines we've ever seen in the MCU. What do you think of this theory? Was the Guardians of the Galaxy's first mission Captain Marvel's fault? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to ScreenRant for more great videos just like this one. Au revoir.